In the meantime, Kamala Harris has distanced herself from Joe Biden's comments that Donald Trump's been referring to repeatedly. He's still got his high-vis vest on when he drove the garbage truck earlier in the day. I want to bring in our Washington correspondent, Annelise Nielsen, who's in Pennsylvania. Annelise, give us a sense of how this is playing out there with the Republican Party able to turn out what was a problem into now a gain for them politically off the back of Joe Biden's latest gaffe.
Look, it's remarkable. It was an issue for them to manage, and now it has completely gone in a 180. But we've had some of the best pictures visually from this election in the last few hours. So I just want to show you some fresh ones that we've had just come into the newsroom. So these are pictures of Joe Biden with kids visiting the White House in their costumes. Now, this always gives us some pictures, but this is an interesting one because we've seen these photos already circulating of Joe Biden biting the leg of a baby dressed like a turkey. So it doesn't seem like the baby was too upset, but it's certainly one of those odd moments that just after his latest gaffe is now playing into this broader picture of Biden taking attention away from Kamala Harris. And this is the big problem her campaign's had since day one, taking over the ticket from Joe Biden, who's never explicitly given a reason why he stepped down other than he thought that someone else might have a better shot at winning. And this is the big problem with what we've seen with these garbage comments coming around Donald Trump supporters. Now, Donald Trump has now taken over that as well. Today, he got off the plane in Madison, Wisconsin, and right into a bespoke garbage truck wearing a high-vis vest. It's there he wanted to take back the insult of his supporters being called garbage and make light of it. And this is really important visually for the Trump campaign. He's been cast as the next dictator, a totalitarian, a petty dictator at that. And so having this light-hearted response to it takes some of that heat out in this last week of people who are being told they should be terrified by this guy who looks like he can take a joke.
I think the Democrats have done a very poor job. We're leading in every state. We're leading big. And I think that the comment made by really both of them, because there are really two of them, about being garbage, maybe 250 million people. They shouldn't be talking. That's like deplorable for Hillary. This is the deplorable for Hillary. And I think this is worse, actually. For Joe Biden to make that statement, it's really a disgrace. I love Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico loves me. I don't know anything about a comedian. I love Puerto Rico. Nobody's done more for Puerto Rico than me. I took care of them when they had the big hurricanes. And nobody gets along better with Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rican people than me.
So, Kieran, to take a step back and explain where this has all come from in the last few days, it all started with a comedian at the Madison Square Garden rally for Donald Trump, speaking before Trump came on stage and making a joke saying that Puerto Rico was a pile of garbage floating in the ocean. Now, Puerto Ricans can't vote for president, but there are plenty living in America that can vote, in particular here in Pennsylvania, more than 400,000 of them in the state. So it's absolutely a voting bloc of the size that could change how this critical battleground state comes out next Tuesday. What has happened, though, is that while Kamala Harris was giving this speech at the Ellipse trying to cast herself as the president that's going to unite America, is going to take the heat out of it and be more respectful to those across the aisle, Joe Biden was inside the White House taking a phone call with Latino supporters for the Democrats. And in that, he described Donald Trump's supporters as garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Let me be clear. I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. You heard my speech last night and continuously throughout my career. I believe that the work that I do is about representing all the people, whether they support me or not.
Kieran, you heard Donald Trump there before reference Hillary Clinton's remarks in the 2016 election about the deplorables. It absolutely has the same kind of emphasis when we're talking about an election where so many people are worried about cost of living and the economy, and those are the kind of people that might not normally consider voting Republican but are thinking about it this time. to be told that they're garbage is the kind of thing that comes across as elitist and can isolate people. We've heard from people in Pennsylvania today about how they think it just casts them as like every other politician they're dealing with, and it goes into the same narrative that Donald Trump has, that he's the businessman, he's not a politician, despite having already been president himself. He led off with this at his rally in Madison, Wisconsin, wearing the high-vis vest right throughout to keep the joke going.
This week, Kamala has been comparing her political opponents to the most evil mass murderers in history. And now, speaking on a call for her campaign last night, crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. No way. No way. And they actually mean it, even though, without question, my supporters are far higher quality than crooked Joe or lying Kamala. Higher quality. Higher quality. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans.
Kieran, in his press conference as well, or a discussion with journalists, what he also referenced was something we've noticed being on the campaign trail in so many swing states, that so many supporters and so much of the discussion around this election, it's either you're voting for Trump or you're voting against Trump. And a lot of people are indeed voting against Donald Trump. It may well get the Democrats over the line, but that is the singular focus of so much of the Democrats campaigning at the moment.
She talked last night, and all she talked about was Donald Trump.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will speak about Donald Trump. 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 Trump.
That's all she talked about, because she and Joe have absolutely no achievements. They only have failure and gloom and death.
And of course, Kieran, for those die-hard Donald Trump supporters, they've gladly worn the title of deplorables for many years, and now they're happily picking up garbage as well.
Well, I believe everything basically that President Biden says is garbage himself.
We're not garbage, we're not trash, we are the American people, but we're better than this, we can rise above. It will be the downfall of their campaign.
So, Kieran, it is all still happening just 6 days out from the presidential election. The polls are so tight, and it's what we're seeing on the ground here. It is going to be absolutely knife edge from all appearances what the result will be. But, of course, we need to remember, even if a state's won by a tiny margin, whoever wins picks up all the Electoral College votes for that state, unless it's Nebraska or Maine. But for Pennsylvania, where I am, it's 19. So we could well see a landslide result in the Electoral College next Tuesday, or we could have a very long count while they fight it out until the end.
Annelise, thank you as always. We'll talk to you soon.